Hey folks, I just wanted to do this quick little intro section because this is going to be a very different kind of LP that I'm used to doing and I think a lot of people are used to watching. But this is Voice of Cards. If you are unfamiliar with it, it is a series of RPGs released over the past roughly year and a half from Square and Yoko Taro and his little lovable gang of goofballs. You know, makers of such fun, happy times like Drakengard 3 and Nier. You know them, you love them. Anyway, the games can loosely be described as Yoko Taro records his latest D&D session and then turns it into a video game. So there's going to be a lot of tabletop elements, and in fact that's basically the entirety of its aesthetic. But more importantly, the game leans really hard into the idea of having a game master who essentially spends the majority of the time narrating what's going on and telling you what's about to happen. This game owes a lot to Bastion, is what I'm saying. Anyway, once we get into the game proper, I'm gonna basically just kind of fade into the background and let the narrator take care of things. He is very good. I definitely like him more than the one in Forsaken Maiden, so look forward to that. And it's not like I'm gonna completely disappear. There will be times when he pretty much shuts up and, we're left to explore an area. So, okay, I'll come in, I can explain some stuff, we can talk about maybe some mechanics, if there's anything relevant to go over. But yeah, like I said, for the most part, the narrator does a really good job, so I'm gonna basically just leave it to him, and I'll chime in whenever I think it's appropriate. So with that out of the way, let's begin. Welcome to Voice of Cards.
Good afternoon, or should I say evening, morning. Morning? At any rate, I'm the Game Master. Pleased to make your acquaintance. Before we begin, there is something I must tell you. You see, my job is to draw you into this world with my voice and cards, which is why I believe it best for you to play with the sound on. In fact, I insist on it. However, as you can see, my voice is subtitled, so you can always read along as well. Now then, are you ready? Let's begin. Welcome to Voice of Cards. You are about to take the first steps of your adventure. Through a realm of sword and sorcery you will travel, battling bloodthirsty monsters as you strive to realize your ambitions. I have every faith you will accomplish great things here. I am merely a witness to your exploits. Now then, your departure draws nigh. May your journey be a safe one. We begin in a cave. The surrounding rocks are slimy with damp. It feels as if some foul creature could leap out from the shadows at any moment. Yet in this horrible place gathers a fellowship of 3 adventurers. One is a young woman. You can tell just by looking at her, she enjoyed a good upbringing. Another is a stoic warrior. He stands at the ready, scanning his surroundings for any sign of threat. Last but not least is the old man. He has a sagely air and gazes into the darkness stretching out before him. These adventurers seek a certain treasure hidden in this cave. door towers before you. It has rather conspicuous handles. The stoic man takes hold of the handles and pulls as hard as he can, but the door doesn't so much as budge. The stoic man winds his leg back and lets fly a powerful kick into the door. As his foot connects, the door trundles to the side. So it was one of those sliding contraptions. Something leaps out at the Fellowship from the darkness. Let's do this.
Despite what the game's aesthetic may make you believe, Voice of Cards is in fact just a pretty standard JRPG. It's not an especially fancy one, although that doesn't mean that there aren't any interesting twists to the gameplay, but for the most part, our interactions in combat are going to be limited to hitting the goblin with the sword or casting Holy on the skeleton. Forsaken Maiden offers some significantly more interesting toys in the toolbox, but that is a story for another time.
These adventurers have seen their fair share of battle and defeat their attackers with ease. As the trio approaches the treasure chest, an awful rumbling resounds deep in the cave. "You shall not have it," a voice growls. Before the wary trio appear creatures the likes of which they've never seen. And fight.
The boss music may have kicked in, but these guys are just as big of chumps as the skeletons we just trashed. I mean, it is the tutorial. We probably shouldn't expect anything different. Although that said, something that is cute about this is that this whole little section is actually an excerpt from a much longer part of the game. If you were to play the demo for Voice of Cards, it is actually its own self-contained story that culminates in this exact fight. So that's cute. I liked that. Anyway, you may notice the gems in the top left corner. Don't worry about that too much. It's functionally just the mana system of this game. We'll talk more about it once we get into the game proper, but the short version is that if you ever played, like, Mario RPG, like the flower point system, it works the exact same way.
The young woman edges around the monster's bulk to stand before the treasure chest. There is treasure inside, no doubt about it, but it's locked tight.
I don't know, guys. Is it the torch? I bet it's the torch. I'm sure whatever's inside is fireproof. It'll be fine.
The woman slides the simple key into the lock. The chest clicks open. Inside is what appears for all the world to be an ordinary medicine bottle. At last, we've retrieved the royal treasure, the old man says. The woman and warrior exchange a nod. Their quest complete, the triumphant trio put the cave behind them. This is Castle Advent. Queen Nilla reigns over the kingdom from within its walls. In the crowded audience chamber jostle all manner of knights, adventurers, and bounty hunters. The white-robed adventurers stand close to the throne. A palace guard calls over the tumult, "Be silent. Her Royal Majesty graces us with her presence." The cacophony ceases the moment Queen Nilla enters the chamber. Seated upon the throne, the Queen faces the crowd. Her lips part. "Thank you all for heeding my call to slay the dragon. Whatever it takes to defeat this reawakened evil, I ask that you do it. Whomsoever conquers this beast will be honored for ages to come and handsomely rewarded." At that, the gathered crowd cheers loud enough to shake the castle's very foundations. "Leave the dragon to us, Your Majesty," say the white-robed adventurers, as if the beast's demise at their hands is assured. "Indeed, you did well to reclaim the royal treasure," the Queen replies. "I thank you, for my stomach becomes most upset without it, so the treasure is a staple of the royal medicine cabinet. It puts my mind at ease to know the Ivory Order offers its aid in slaying the dragon. The trio are disciples of the Ivory Order, a charitable organization beloved the realm over. Indeed, anyone would think this illustrious trio the heroes of our tale. But they'd be wrong. So we just gotta slay the dragon and we'll be drowning in gold. The man trails off, drooling over unknowable fantasies. Beside him, a strange creature lets out a chirping coo. Pay attention, because this is important. There he is, or there you are, I should say, the hero of our tale. A humble bounty hunter. You love little in this realm more than coin. A seemingly tedious fellow who doesn't hesitate to claim the title of hero for yourself. When you heard about the quest to slay the dragon, it was the promise of reward that lured you to the castle. Now then, if you wish to officially register for the hunt, see me so I can get your signature. You wonder why you need to sign anything, but head for the guard anyway. Shall we?
Before we go meet with the guard, let's take a second and just check in with some of our compatriots around the room. See what their take is on the dragon situation.
That reward for slaying the dragon is as good as mine, barks the man. You think the dragon's really as tough as they say? Asks the man, his knees knocking together. If the heroes of the Ivory Order are hunting the dragon, he's as good as dead, says the man, relief spreading across his face. The Ivory Order trio stands before you. They seem not the most approachable of parties, but... You inquire about their identities. We are disciples of the Ivory Order. It is our duty to aid the realm and its people however we can. The Order's principal focus is developing medicine to distribute to people throughout the world. They begin blathering an answer to a question you didn't even ask. Sensing a long lecture ahead, you seize on the first chance to extricate yourself from their presence. Sign here, says the guard, handing you a pen and paper.
Our hero, if indeed you can call him that, has a default name of Ash. And you know what? That's a pretty good name, actually. So you know what? We're just gonna roll with that.
You sign your name. A fine name. After you've signed, the guard motions to the strange creature beside you. The monster, too. You sign your companion's name as well. Mar. Mar, your friend and sometimes traveling companion. Though he can't speak the human tongue, he seems to understand it well enough. Thank you. Now we'll know what to have engraved on your tombstones. Can't ask the dead what name to mark their grave with, after all, the guard chortles. You want the reward as badly as you don't want to die. You figure you better make some strong friends.
Words of wisdom from our dear narrator. Let's roam the halls and see if we can find any potential party members.
I'll let the Order handle this. Me, I'm heading home. No way am I adventuring with anyone who keeps that sort of creepy company, he says. Before you even open your mouth to ask him to team up, he cuts you off. Thanks, but no thanks. You ask him to team up, but he refuses angrily. I ain't splitting the reward with nobody. You weren't planning on sharing either, so you don't try to change his mind. Let us depart. We have a realm to save. He grabs his less than enthused colleague by the wrist and drags her off. You catch a glimpse of the terrified look on her face, and then the two disappear out of the audience chamber. You'll need tough gear, the man says, wandering off. Never know what you might hear that'll lead you in the right direction. The man wanders off somewhere, muttering to himself. Offer to join forces with the Ivory Order trio? We select few are sufficient to defeat the dragon. We require no additional aid. And we certainly don't require the aid of a no-name wastrel. With that, the trio takes their leave of the castle.
Right. Well, that could have gone better, but you know what? We don't need their help. We have Mar, the best boy. What else could you possibly ask for?
You've yet to find any help for your quest. Things don't look that reassuring as they are, but the decision is up to you. In the end, you set out, just the two of you, to hunt the dragon. A weapons merchant accosts you in the street, despite your best efforts to mind your own business. He speaks to you in a voice barely above a whisper. You want the most powerful weapon there ever was? He conspicuously checks his surroundings before revealing this weapon of apparent renown to you. To hear him tell it, this is a legendary weapon, and one of its kind at that. It can be yours for 20,000 gold pieces, he says. You can smell the scam a mile away, and yet the aura of this weapon does have something of the legendary about it. You ask who in their right mind would pay so much for something so clearly fake, stolen, or forged. Well, you know where to find me, if you change your mind, he says, tucking the weapon away. The old man kindly warned you of the dangerous monsters outside of town. The door is shut tight. You spy a keyhole on it, suggesting the existence of a corresponding key. The child says you should see Nexton as soon as you leave the castle town. Before you stands a sign calling for people to join the hunt for the dragon. Earlier, you saw the bit about the handsome reward for whoever slays the dragon and hightailed it to the castle. A woman stares at the sign, transfixed. Her face curls into a scowl as she notices you. "Monster!" the woman cries, and flings magic at Mar. Startled by the spell, Mar grows dizzy. You whirl to the woman and shout, "What are you doing?" This ain't a monster, you growl, as the woman snarls over you. I hate monsters. The two of you bicker for quite a while. In the end, the woman admits she may have jumped to conclusions, but stubbornly refuses to apologize. Inwardly, you call her unsavory names as your attention shifts to a different topic of conversation. Turns out she really hates the dragon and would love to take him down with her own two hands. But she knows she's no match for him alone, so she's at a loss for what to do. When you tell her you're after the same thing, she squints down her nose at you. Fine, she says. I can help you. She's a little annoying, but you are looking for quest companions. I only want to see the dragon dead. I don't care about anything else, she mutters. You overhear her remarks and grin without thinking. Then you don't care about getting a share of the reward. That suits you perfectly. You happily join forces with the black-clad woman. She introduces herself as Melanie. She tells you she is a witch, but says nothing of why she hates monsters or what grudge she bears against the dragon.
See, it all worked out just fine, and we even got a party member who doesn't even want a share of the reward. Everything's coming up Team Ash, baby. What more could you really ask for?